Hello! So, as we discussed yesterday, this is just going to be a shortish video going through the main points of the elements from your grade 2 that we went through yesterday. What I thought I'll do as well, as part of this video, I'll demonstrate the bits that need work and just sort of talk about general kind of themes that need a little bit more emphasis, like dynamics and things like that as we go. But I'll also play through each of the songs or each of the pieces fairly slowly for you, just so that you've got a visual. Okay, that's how it's meant to go. That's, you know, where that chord is. Blah 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 blah. So I'll go through everything in turn like that. And like I say, I'm hoping to be able to put those time markers on this video, so you can just instantly click a button and go straight to the bit where I'm talking about Persian Holiday, or the bit where I'm talking about the Whole New World, or whatever it is. Right, so let's start with the exercises. I'll go through things in the order that you played them. Generally, this is okay. It's not as fast as you think. I'm just going to set the metronome on here. It's marked at around 104, which is this sort of speed. I wouldn't go any faster than that, because it's you'd be much better off going at a more conservative tempo and getting it really accurate with all the staccatos and the accents and stuff, rather than trying to do it fast but it being fragile. Always, if you've got a choice between going faster but it being a bit weaker, or going slower and it being more accurate, always go for the slightly slower and more accurate one. It just sounds much better. The bit I wanted to single out mainly from this one is bar 3. You're still playing the wrong right hand notes there in bar 3. So what we've actually got is, I'll use bad fingering so that you can see more easily. We've got F sharp and B. A good way to think about it is the top note is the same for bars 1 and 2 as it is for bars 3 and 4. Just with the other bits underneath. So here it is, and I'm going to do it at the metronome tempo as well. I'm going to exaggerate the accented notes and the staccato notes, just so you get those in your mind. So have a look through the music as I'm talking and see if you can spot the notes which are accented. So we've got a right hand one in bar 1, we've got a right hand one in bar 3, and we got the very last chord of the piece. I keep playing that chord wrong. Sorry, it's G and E, not B and G. There we go. Okay, here we go. I played the right chord at the end, finally. Good. And very, very, very importantly as well, there's one chord in this which very definitely doesn't want to be staccato, and it's the first chord in the last bar, because it's got those little lines drawn under it, which means the Italian word is tenuto, it means held, so the complete opposite of staccato. So we've got so kind of held and sticky, and then spiky. Moving on, so Late Night Lullaby. This was sort of sounding like it was getting there, but this doesn't sound like it's that familiar to you yet. The first thing to point out with this one is that you're missing the F sharps on the first line. So the very, 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 very first chord of the piece has an F sharp in, and so does that chord in bar number 3. So the F sharp's at the bottom of the first chord and at the top of the chord in number 3. I will play this one through for you. This is fairly slow. I mean, it's a lullaby, so you'd expect it to be fairly kind of gentle. And there's not really much there in terms of dynamics at all. It's all MP, and that's all you get, really. So the dynamics aren't hugely important with this one. It's the rhythm is quite tricky. It's that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Forgive the singing. And also make sure you get those F sharps in there. That's really, really important. Now, onto your pieces. Persian Holiday was good. Persian Holiday was really good. It's always hard to tell on Skype and Zoom. It's always hard to tell how good people's dynamics are. So, I say that because your dynamics are probably a lot better than they come across on Zoom. It's just one of those annoying things about internet stuff. But the dynamics in this are really, really important. And I think the most important two are the ones at the end. So where it suddenly goes quiet, goes MP, on the last line, and then even quieter at the end. But be very, very, very careful. I would, even though you definitely got quieter at the end, and that was beautiful. Sorry, the camera's down, isn't it? I don't think you want to get slower. You did a very good job of getting quieter, but don't mix. You don't always want to mix speed and dynamics together like that. I think often you do, and often the music will tell you get slower and quieter at the end. But as this doesn't, I would keep that tempo going. Again, with this one, I'll just play it through and demonstrate. A couple of bits to watch out for. Bar 16, you're still playing the wrong left-hand notes there. It goes F and then C. I think you're doing F and then another F. But again, let me just play this one through for you. Let's make sure you can see both my hands. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. Right. So I won't start too loud because I want to get louder when it goes to forte in bar number 9. So I'm going to start sort of, medium sort of volume. You may notice I played a wrong note in bar 15. I went... Sorry. Of course it's a C in the left hand, but you do that correctly anyway, so naughty Chris. Good. That was the main thing there, just dynamics. Watch that middle bit with the sort of getting jumbled with those notes, and dynamics at the end, and keep that speed going. Again, it's not a bad idea to practice these with the metronome. What does this one want to be around? It doesn't have to be exactly that, but I think in the region of 120 to 140 beats per minute is ideal, because that gives it a nice sort of energy. Okay, moving on to Rigaudon. Where are we? Okay, this one. So two things here. Well, 2.5 things here. One, as you know, it's that bar. It's that annoying bar near the end of the last line. That's the fragile bit. With this one as well, I want you to, before I play through the whole thing, I'm just going to play the opening 2 notes of every line. Now the reason I did that was to just draw attention to the fact that the first 2 right-hand notes of every single line of this are staccato. And I think if you can get that in there, it'll just make the articulation much more rich. Da, 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 and so on and so on and so on. The other thing with this one is tempo. You have a tendency to speed up in this, so I would practice this with the metronome. What speed do they say? 140. That is quite fun. Again, it doesn't need to be exactly that fast, and I wouldn't actually practice it at full speed. I always practice things a bit slower than target speed. It just gives you more time to think whilst you're practicing, because you don't want to feel under any unnecessary pressure when you're practicing. You need the kind of brain power to think about dynamics and staccatos and all those kind of things. And if you're going at maximum speed, you simply don't have the time to think about those things. So I'm going to suggest you try this with the metronome at about 100. Also with this one as well, of course, dynamics, really, really important dynamics. So when we get to that third line, you need a noticeable drop in dynamics to piano, because otherwise it's all the same. It's all the same dynamic, and that's a little bit sort of flat. And then building up a little bit on that bottom line to mezzo forte, and then back to quite bold and loud when we go back to the first two lines to finish off with. Good, so I'll set the metronome. I'm going to start by, in fact, before I do the metronome, I'm going to play through the bottom line just so that you can practice along to that to get that awkward bar 15 behaving itself. So here goes. Okay, let's try that again, Chris. Time. Now I'm going to do it one more time, but really slowly, so you can practice along to it really slowly as well. Okay, now let's try the whole thing at about 100. Don't know why I played that last bar octave lower. I just felt like being dramatic, I think. And then finally onto A Whole New World. This is really, really good. Like I said, it's mainly just that last line that needs a bit of tidying up. So let me go through those left-hand notes again so that you can kind of just sort of practice tidying up that left-hand bit. And I'll use my silly descriptions and stuff as well. So we're starting on F and A. I don't know. Fruity apples. There we go. It's a bit loud, isn't it? Down to the A. Now the D and the G. Donkeys and giraffes. Now to our chord with a flat bottom. Now to the wider chord. And then it's the ending. Okay, now another thing that I think you can really go to town with this one is the expression. Probably more so than the other two, because this is the most gentle, it's the most ballady. So I'm gonna sort of play it in such a way that I'm going to try and do the right hand as you might sing it. Don't worry, I'm not about to sing it, that would be torture. But, for example, if you were singing that, you might kind of get a little bit louder towards the middle and softer at the end. So you place that last note really gently. Okay, let me just get my head around where the repeats in this are, because I don't think we want to do the repeats here, do we? Okie dokie. Yeah, really take your time with that last note, and as soon as you play that last C, it's got the little fermata above it, the little curve with the dot in it. Just hold that for as long as you want. In fact, I would hold that and keep the pedal down until the sound has disappeared. That will be really, really good performance craft. So this kind of links to what we were talking about with the marking the overall performance. If you played that ending like this, done. That sort of almost spoils a lovely ending a bit. It's almost, it gives the impression that you're kind of keen for it to be over. Whereas if you take your time with that bit and just let that bit linger so that your listeners can go, oh, that's lovely, for a little bit longer, that'd be really nice. Sitting up nice and straight. Then when you're ready, everything off at once, pedal and hands. Done. Take a few moments and then finish. And that last point's really important as well. So if you're going to do your pieces in this order, especially and do A Whole New World last, you want to make it a really good performance ending. So as soon as you've finished, lift your hands up, just sit nice and still, count to 3, and then you can sort of look to camera. But you don't want to sort of finished. Yeah, it's just you want to kind of let it sort of sink in a bit at the end. And similarly with your other pieces as well. So once you've sort of, let's say, 3. And then think through the first few bars. Then again, once you get to the end of this one. Just take your time. There's no rush to go from piece to piece. Now think gentle lullaby. Having that pacing, having that gap, that kind of chill out time between the pieces is so important. Especially with the music you're playing, because it's all so different. I mean, for example, how, you know, if you sort of suddenly went from, let me give you an example of how it would sound if you just went straight from Rigaudon. So, where are I? It kind of doesn't really work because you're still in kind of like excited, serious mode from the Rigaudon, and you don't have enough time to kind of let go of that before going into the super gentle world of Aladdin. So yeah, just take your time between each piece. Make sure you sit up nice and straight, and then what I always do before I perform something, or I try to do, sometimes forget, is just sort of play through the first 2 bars or so in your mind. Just think, how loud do I want this to sound? What speed am I going to go? But yeah, but you sort of mentally play the first bit and then begin. Anyhow, I'll put the time tags on that so you can practice along to specific bits. But in the meantime, enjoy and have a lovely weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.